One. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Welsh Republic podcast, episode 148 today. And I am here with my guest, Nina Infinity. How are you doing today, Nina? Is everything okay?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Not too bad. Just been chilling out, just been doing work around, where I live. What have you been up to today? Anything much?
Well, I just stopped playing. I was streaming the new Helldivers game on a PC before I came on here because I had to spread some more democracy. But yeah, other than that, I was just like day to day stuff at home, and then I was like, oh, I have some time to kill before I get on this podcast. So I went and spread some democracy a little bit. Have you played that game?
I've not really played that game in a long time. The last game that I played was really Dishonored 2. I love Dishonored 2. I hope they do another one.
I don't think
But
I've ever played that.
also The Witcher 3. I really love The
Ooh.
Witcher 3. It's a great game. It is a really good game. So,
I love
Nina,
that game. I think
oh,
I've played that
mhm.
game, like, all the way through. I've done it, like, 4 times.
Tell me about it. It's like when you play that game, it's like what Skyrim and Fallout can do. It gives you that majestic feel of just
Mhm.
what so many games lack nowadays. Like there are so many games that you'll play, but you'll be like, nah, I don't want to. I mean, I'm not saying you, but other people will just be like, nah, I don't think I want to play that again. But if you look at like old games, like you mentioned, it's just fantastic, those games.
Yeah, it totally
Um,
holds up.
Nina, how is life there in Mexico? Very interesting that you're down there because a lot of, people say that Mexico is a third world dump, that it's riddled with crime. What's the area like where you're in Mexico? Like, and you've been there for 7 years, and what has been your experience living there for seven
Um,
years, and how much you've seen it grown in the last 7 years?
oh my gosh, I've seen it grow a lot. Mexico is a lot of fun. I I love the Mexican people. I love the Mexican culture. Some of the Mexican culture. I mean, most of the Mexican culture. Meaning there's parts of it that, is obviously really good. There's a bits of it that are really annoying. Like, for example, they have this thing called, like, they say ahorita, which means, like, at some point. It could mean it could mean now, it could mean 5 minutes, it could mean a week from now, it could mean whatever. So most of the time, especially in Cancun, we live on like tropical time. So you can be late to a party. Like you'll be like, oh, you're scheduled to, appear at the Welsh Republic podcast, at 7:30 or whatever. And it's just like, oh, I'll show up when I feel like it. Maybe I'll be on time. Maybe I'll be 10 minutes late. Maybe I'll be, half an hour late. Maybe I'll be an hour late. That's literally what it's like. So you have to kind of like, d it was really different for me when I came. That was like a part of the culture shock because in Canada, we're so timely, like, Canadians are very
Tell me
timely
about it.
people. So, we're very, 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 we care about time and etiquette and all that kind of stuff, and then when I moved here, that was definitely a shift. I was like, "Okay, I gotta be, like, way more chill and relax and be like, oh, okay, we'll get there when we get there,' kind of thing." And apparently it's not always like that in different parts of Mexico, like, especially if you go to Mexico City, that's a very it's a very hectic place, it's a city life, it's different in Mexico and Cancun because it's tropical life, so that they're just way more relaxed here. So those things can be challenging, but otherwise, I love it here. It's, warm and nice, and the food's great, and there's, honestly, like, I've ran into a couple problems here and there, like, sometimes there's been, like, shootings or something like that, but most of the stuff has been, like, very targeted stuff, so they don't really bother, like, citizens. You just hear, like, "Oh, somebody got shot," and then you find out, like, they were part of the cartel. So then you're like, "Oh, okay, it was just like it's a targeted hit." It's very and it doesn't happen quite often. It happens not very often, actually. It's usually when there's a shift in political spheres, like there's an election cycle or,
Mm.
some of the cartel people have changed, so they're fighting for turf or something like that. But even then, it's very, very unlikely that they're gonna hit, especially tourist places in Cancun because they all know that's business. Tourist money is big business, so they don't wanna mess with that. So yeah. It's most for the most part, it's just like any other city. You don't wanna go out to sketchy places at night. You
Yeah.
wanna just, keep to yourself and keep a low profile, and nobody will bother you.
When you in the area you're in, what would you say is like, sorry, you living in Mexico, what would you say is your favorite Mexican food, the one that you can't get enough
Ooh.
of, and like Mexican dessert? And what would you say is the number one place that people should go to in Cancun to go like as a tourist there to explore?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, so for food, my favorite food is arrachera steak, which is kinda like skirt steak, and they marinate it in a certain way. So you can have arrachera salad, you can have arrachera steak by itself, you can have arrachera tacos, or they call these things called gringas, which is gringa means like white person. So they have this thing where it's kind of like a quesadilla. It's like meat and cheese and bread. But they call it gringa, so it's easier for white people to order it. And then so you can have like arrachera gringa. Um, I also really like what's it called? Pastor, which is basically ham, but it's like shaved ham, kind of like what's it called? Like not I was gonna say
The
rotisserie.
kebabs? You mean the kebab
Yeah, like
soups?
like the
Yeah,
kebabs,
the
kinda
yeah.
like that, but the meat is like it's ham, so it's not like kebabs, it's ham and it's shaved and it's really, really freaking good. I can't especially if you make it right, it's really good. Pastor tacos are really, really good. So those are my 2 favorite foods. And for dessert, I think Mexican dessert is the absolute most disgusting thing you've ever had in your life, so I don't usually eat Mexican desserts. Mexican
Oh,
chocolate and
God.
Mexican candy is awful. Um, and they have like Mexican desserts where they have like flan and they have like, I don't know, like tapioca and like, that kind of thing. And I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of any of those things. I'm sorry, Mexico. I love you, but no to all of that. Um, and then as far as where I would recommend people go the most, um, in Cancun, there's an island called Isla Mujeres. There, it's like basically about like a half an hour ferry ride. So when you get
Mhm.
to Cancun, you hop on a ferry. There's like three different places that have the ferries that go to the island. On the island, you get to do different types of activities. So if you want like water activities, they have snorkeling and all of the stuff. You can swim with dolphins and all of these kind of things. And then they also have a historical place, which is the central, the northern part of the island is the beach, which is the most beautiful beach in the world. It's called Playa Norte, which means North
Oh,
Beach.
wow.
And it's one, I think it's like, I think beach number 2 in the world. It's one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And then on the other side of the island is the island of women, like the giant rock that you sit on, and or you can like go and take pictures with. And there's like historical places on the island. It's the first place that uh, in Mexico that gets the rising sun, and so it's really beautiful. You can go there at sunset or sunrise, and it's just the most beautiful place that you could ever visit. I also really like this island called Holbox. That's a longer trek from Cancun. It's about 3 hours away from Cancun. But the special part about that island is that and especially in June, July, they have this thing called like glowing algae. So you get to on the island, they turn off all the lights at night, so there's no light pollution, and you can basically walk among like on the beach and see this glowing algae, and you'll be able to see basically all of the stars in the sky, like the Milky Way, and then you'll see the glowing algae on the bottom, and you'll basically be walking with the stars. It's one of the most breathtaking views that you could ever experience. So those are the 2 places that I recommend the most.
Library Fox here, he's a very active guy in your chat, says this. He asks your
Hi.
question, Nina, what was the beach you once showed us covered in seaweed?
That one, the thing is with the seaweed, it can go anywhere. It depends on the time of the year and what's going on in the ocean at the time of the year. So the seaweed goes it's a weird situation with seaweed. It can be anywhere at any time. Sometimes Isla Mujeres gets them, like sometimes Playa Norte gets it. It's just depending on the time in your lock kind of thing. Seaweed is just a non, it's a never ending battle with seaweed and beach towns. So usually though, when you're in the hotel zone or anywhere that has like the touristy areas, they do come and clean up the beaches a lot more and get rid of the seaweed so that the tourists can enjoy them. But if you go to like local beaches, it's less likely and more likely you're going to get to see a lot more seaweed. But yeah, usually they clean it up in the hot spots.
You know, Nina, I feel like the best type of food to have, like when someone hasn't had a, like for me, I would say the best type of food, like when someone has not had a food in a long time, is when you're like feeling like you need to eat something, is nachos. Like like whenever I have
Okay.
nachos, like with sauce, oh, it's just it's so filling, and it's like it's one of those foods when you haven't had for a long time. They're like, oh, so tasty. It's like burritos too. They're
Mhm.
so good, man. They're just so good, so fresh. That's what I love about Mexican food. And I love Mexican stack. Mexican stack is, oh, it's delicious, man. It's so good.
Mhm. There's a lot of good stuff here. I especially like the tacos and stuff. I know that's lame, but it's just like what it's all about is the tacos. It's really good.
Nina, here's a bit of a interesting question. What would you say is your favorite Mexican movie, like your favorite movie that you've seen, that been done in Spanish or like Mexican based? What would you say?
Well, Mexican cinema, admittedly I haven't watched a lot of Mexican movies or cinema. But I mean, I love Guillermo del Toro.
Mm.
I think that he is a Mexican national treasure. So I feel like when I watch his movies, I'm kind of watching Mexican movies in a way because he does a lot of like nods to Mexico in his movies. So I really love Guillermo. I will watch like any movie he's a part of. I will watch it. Um, and here they get really angry if you talk badly about him. Uh, Specifically, there was a theater chain that said something bad about him once, and all the people basically boycotted the theater because they were like, "How dare you talk about Guillermo?" And like they were like, "We're done with you." And that theater chain basically is almost like gone broke because nobody goes there anymore because they dared to talk badly about Guillermo del Toro. So it's just really funny. The Mexican people are very, very passionate about who they like, what they like, their culture, and if you mess around with that, it's not a good thing. They will
No,
come
they
after even like Mexicans. They'll be like, "How dare you? Get in
yeah,
line."
they're a very passionate race of people, Mexicans are, and they're very loyal to their country, and it
It's
is true.
lovely. It is lovely though.
Mhm,
Like I mean, in that
mhm.
sense, because I feel like patriotism has gotten a bad word, or bad like kind of nationalism or whatever you want to call it has gotten a little bit of a bad vibe, but I think it's a good thing because it's good to be proud of who you are and where you're from and those kind of things I like that about Mexicans.
Mhm. Yeah, they are very passionate people, and I feel like one thing that the East is doing better now, Nina, especially in China and in Russia and in Mexico and in South America and in like the Middle East, they really are more patriot than the West, and it seems to be something that the West is forgetting a lot. Anyways, Nina, so tell me about your streaming career. Like, how did you like get into this whole, cultural scene with where you're at? How did you get in with all this whole cultural scene with like Nerdrotic, people like Eric July, people like Anna, that Star Wars girl? Like, what made you like? So tell me your background. What got you into it?
My
Like, what was your journey into it?
my journey into it was that I didn't even know what YouTubing was in a way, because I was just like, oh, whatever. Like people watch YouTube to, get like cooking instructions and like things like that. So I didn't, at the beginning, I didn't really even know that there was like such a thing as live streaming culture or anything like that. I wasn't into any of that, but I was always a nerd, deep down inside. And I always loved Star Wars, and of course, anime, as you can tell. I was a big anime girl, and I was always very nerdy. So I watched Game of Thrones season 8. The final episode basically broke my heart, and I was like crying because it was like, I can't believe they ended it like this. And I just wasted my entire life watching this show, like 8 years of my life. And so my husband was like, "You should check out this dude, Nerdrotic. He's got like 20 people or 20,000 people watching his show right now, talking about how much this finale sucked." Because he wasn't watching the show at the time. He was just watching my reactions. And he was like, "I can't believe you're crying over this." And then so I went and I was like, "What's going on? Like, people pay money to talk to people on the internet? Like, this is so weird." And I didn't understand. Like, I was like, super chatting, like, what is that? Like, people, are people actually paying money to talk to these people online? And so like that was my introduction to it. And then from there, I already knew of Anna, that Star Wars girl, because my husband was into like all of these creators. Like he watched YouTube more than I did. So he knew the Quartering, Gary, Anna, like a few other people. And then I thought, and through him, like I was like watching, I was checking out these content creators. And but then, like, once I got into it, I started to basically join the chats. Like once I realized what was going on, I was like, okay, I'm going to start hanging out in these communities and getting to know these YouTubers. So I started watching some live streams. And then I was a very big supporter of Anna, because she was like the other female content creator that inspired me to make my channel. And then as I kept hanging out with them in the chats and getting to know everybody, Anna, I remember, had like a ladies' night at one point, and she invited a bunch of ladies, and I was in the chat just hanging out with them and just talking. And then they were like, "You need to make a channel and come hang out with us." And I was like, "I can do that. Like, I can make a channel." And so I did. And then the rest is history, really. I mean, I started streaming with my friend John Talks, of course. We did Infinite Talk for a while, and that was when um, the coup had hit and we all had nothing to do. So we just sat there and talked all night about like anything and everything. And it was good times, man. It was good times. I mean, it was terrible times outside in the world, but
Mm.
it was kind of like a silver lining, finding all these friends and people that were like-minded. And figuring out, oh my God, other people hated The Last Jedi too. Like that, I'm not alone in thinking that Star Wars is dead. So like those kind of things were really cool. And the rest is history. I made my channel and here we are.
Yeah, I we are definitely living in a type of era, where things are becoming more decentralized, more people are becoming more independent and stuff. Liberty, by the way, Library Fox just sent me a video of how there was a hurricane that affected Cancun. That must have been terrible at that time, the beach that got affected.
Oh my God. I lived through hurricane here. Hurricane Delta is what I lived through. They had one a few years before that. And that one hit even worse. But the one that I lived through was really scary. I'd never like experienced anything like that. I mean, I lived in Vancouver all my life before that, so I was familiar with storms. But it was just really crazy to see, palm trees just like bending all the way. And it was a really crazy experience to be in a hurricane, and just hunker down and pray it's going to pass at some point, and just seeing all the trees just go crazy. And it really is kind of like looking at God's power. It was just like something that you're like, oh my God, this is why the old civilizations were like, we've angered the gods when like things things like this would
Yeah.
happen. Because it was just it's surreal. It's surreal to be part of something like that. And then of course, your power goes out and all of this stuff. I had to live for 4 days without power. Now we got a
Oh God,
generator.
that would have
We
been
learned,
awful.
yeah, we learned from that fast though. Now we got a Jenny. We're ready. We're ready for the next one, and that's definitely a life here. And every year we have to prepare. Every year you have to get food, water. Make sure you're ready for just in case another one hits, because hurricane seasons every year around I think September, end of August to end of beginning of November.
Mhm. So Nina, what would you say is your favorite anime of all time? And what would you
Mm.
say like was the one scene in that anime that you loved so much? And what was that anime that you like about more? And what do you think that the anime does better than any other anime out there? And what do you think people can learn? Life lessons can people learn from the anime you really like?
Oh my god, that is a difficult question, man, because I like too many animes. There's I can't it's just like unfair to ask somebody that loves anime so much, what is your favorite of all time? Um, my favorite anime of all time. That's difficult. I have so many favorites. I think like Sailor Moon is a safe one to just be like, yeah, that's my favorite. But I mean, you get different like favorite animes depending on what like when in your life you watch it, like how old you are, what your mood is. So like obviously like I grew up on Sailor Moon and it always has a special place in my heart, but it's not something that you can watch like all the time, you know. Um and it's not for everybody. So I guess I would say Cowboy Bebop would probably be a better answer just for generalization purposes, like, because I think more people can relate to Cowboy Bebop than anything else. But I've always been like a sci-fi fan, so anything to do with like Ghost in the Shell or anything like that, that's also a good go. But as a favorite of all time, I guess that yeah, I guess I'll say Sailor Moon or Cowboy Bebop because it's I mean Sailor Moon's just my personal favorite. As with regards to how it's doing better, what was your question again? Can
Like
you remind me?
what anime do you think teaches the people the best life lessons on like how to never give up and to keep going and how to be a better person?
Well, that's definitely Sailor Moon. Never give up, keep going. But there's definitely other animes that also teach certain lessons that are incredible. Um, one of them, I mean, like in terms of adult animes that I really love, one of them is called Monster, and it teaches you about the psychology of people, and basically like whether you know like nurture versus what was it? What is that thing? Nature
Nature
versus
versus nurture.
nurture.
Yeah.
It talks about that. It talks about, you know, how a psychopath is made, whether they're born psychopaths or whether they are created sociopathy, like, you know, things like that. I really enjoy a good psychological thriller. So Monster fits that bill as well. I really love that. It teaches a lot of lessons about history as well, which is something anime can do really easily. Like, I mean, a lot of them contain some form of uh, like history, which that one does. Um, but life lessons, like definitely Sailor Moon in terms of like friendship, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for Sailor Moon because it taught me about friendship and love and kindness and um, you know, just everything that's good. Is that show.
Yeah.
I also love Cardcaptor Sakura. That was another one. Teaches you
Oh
about
wow.
friendship and love and not giving up and just it's one of the coolest little animes. It's not really little actually, it's a really long fucking anime, but I don't really watch long animes anymore because I don't have the time.
Mm.
But it's one that also stuck with me throughout my life because it has a lot of really good lessons, especially for kids. You don't get to see good stuff for kids, I feel like a lot more recently. So it's good to go back to these old things and remember why we love them to begin with.
If you were, let's say, a Sailor Moon character, what would your Sailor Moon character name be? What powers would you want to have as a Sailor Moon girl? And what type of personality would she be? Would she be sassy or would she be like
Oh my gosh,
kind
that's an interesting question. Well, I mean, I definitely relate the most to Sailor Moon herself. Like, I feel like I'm clumsy and I love food and I am I can be very not self-confident until I have a support network. And then when the time comes and I find the strength, I will definitely stand up for my friends. And it's just like her personality is what I vibe with the most. But if I was to have my own Sailor Moon character, I guess like it would be someone that is kind of like a mix, like a little bit sassy, but also just very spirited and kind and loving and able to sass a little bit more than Sailor Moon does. Like I would definitely be a lot more sassy, I think. Just make fun of yourself, make fun of other people, trolling the other sailors. And then my power, I don't know what my power would be. I've never thought about something like that. I mean, I used to imagine myself becoming Sailor Moon and like when I was a kid, I used to imagine being Sailor Moon and then I would go to like Iran and I would like and I would use my crystal power to turn all the like ayatollahs and stuff like that to good and to like respect women. Like remember like to get rid of hijab and stuff like that. I would actually daydream about doing that. So that would probably be my power to be able to remind people what kindness is and love and things like that. The
Yeah,
power of
and
infinite hopes is Darren. Yeah, that
yeah,
would be me.
Darren is absolutely correct there. I think actually that would be your like finishing move to any bad guy, and any bad guy that's full of negative energy, you'll be like, no.
Yeah, which is basically what Sailor Moon is. She's the Sailor Scout of love and justice. So it's that's what I would do. I would have hope and justice and I would be all about that for sure.
You know, I really like that infinite hope thing that you do, that show that you do is it's so awesome. Like it's
Thank
so
you.
refreshing because I feel like a lot of people in this industry, like whether they're on the left, whether they're on the right, especially in the comic book industry, they focus on the negatives. Like sometimes, Nina, even though like my show, like I bring on like really, really deep people, we talk about like really strong political stuff that you may disagree with. Like you and me might disagree like on many political issues, especially Iran or like
Mm.
China or whatever. But one thing it's so refreshing to watch like a good film and get your mind out of things because I always don't follow on politics a lot because it does get to me and I have my
It's
limit too and
depressing.
it can be very overwhelming, especially when it's Israel Palestine or like it's
Ugh.
just it's just absolutely insane. But
Yeah.
when coming back to that, when you do your like Infinite for Hope show, like what actually when you look at that, what would you say has been, your favorite story like from the inspirational hope thing that you've been doing lately that really touched your heart, that really, that made you smile?
Oh my god, that is a difficult question because 'cause I've done like 180 shows now. There's been a lot. We have, like, I think my 180th is coming up, this week. Yeah, I think so. Ooh, if I can pinpoint one story, I mean, there's so many, and that's the point of the show too, is that it's the idea that we don't usually focus on the good things. So for me, it's always like it's really so interesting that any given week there's all these good things happening and nobody's talking about any of these good things, and that's why I wanted to do the show. So for me to pick one story, it was just so unfair to all the other stories. I love metal detectoring stories where people find like metal detecting stuff like somebody lost a ring and they're like, oh my god, I need my ring found, and
Mhm.
like other metal detectors come and they help them find it. Or I love good human stories where people are just like, I'm gonna jump into this fire and save people. And like, there's so many of those where there's so many people just risking their own life and limb. I love good CPR story because that's one of the things of the show is like learn CPR because you never know when you're gonna use it. Because there's so many CPR stories where like, so and so was at a restaurant and somebody choked and they saved them, or so and so jumped in a pool. And like, the little kid stories are so cool where little kid, like, 5-year-old kid saved into the pool and saved his 2-year-old sister because he knew how to do CPR. It's just there's so many of these really, really cool stories. And so
Mm.
for me to pick one, it's nearly impossible, honestly. There's too many good ones.
I can imagine that. There is a lot of, really good like fantastic stories out there that I really think people, really could, go on to. And I think that's what a lot of the world misses. Nina, I've heard just recently that on your Twitter that Melanie was talking about something, and it was about Lara Croft. What's going on there? That apparently she's not going to be like seeking tombs anymore or
Oh,
something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think I ratioed that thing, that they commented on it. I don't know. It popped up in my feed. There's been a lot of discussion going on with regards to gaming recently, and like all the DEI in there, and all the things that are going on. Oh yeah, I totally ratioed this post. It's like it has 142 and my comment has 1.6K likes. Dan Basks has 2.7K likes. That's amazing. But it's like, can I share my screen here so you can see it?
Yeah, sure, no worries. That's all good.
So here it
Fantastic.
is. This is the thing. So they're saying,
Can you see it,
this is
guys? Chat, can you see it? Is it all good? Sorry, I was just checking.
yeah, I think
Because
they can see it.
it gets a bit faulty. I'll just put it on full screen.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
there we go. Yeah.
So yeah, this account here says British adventurer Laura Croft will transition. By the way, interesting use of words. Transition from being a raider of tombs to a seeker of truth as Evil Hat Productions and Crystal Dynamics seeks to redefine the Tomb Raider series in order to escape its colonial past. Because they want to label her as a colonist and like all this bullshit, because the buzzwords and everything. So they're gonna call it Tomb Raider: Shadow of Truth. And my comment was, why make a Lara Croft Tomb Raider if you don't want her to raid tombs? Oh, I know, because the IP makes money, so let's just cash in. Fuck this. And I really truly mean that, because I think that's exactly why they're using this IP. They're using it because of the name, no other reason. Because we don't
Yeah.
need Lara Croft to change her ways. She doesn't. She's perfect as she is. She doesn't need to like stop raiding tombs or whatever. No, no, no. She's a tomb raider. That's what she does, and she's very good at it. And people love that character. And this kind of BS just needs to stop. From all, it's like as if saying like, oh, I'm gonna make a Mario game, but he's
Mhm.
not gonna be a plumber. In this game, he's no longer gonna be a plumber. He's gonna be something else. He's gonna be a librarian, guys. It's gonna be like Super Mario, the library guy. It's just like, what? What? Why would you do that? That's why the character is known for all of these things and love for all of these things, and that's what the most important thing is about these characters.
Yeah, it's like they've all forgotten. I was never really a fan of Tomb Raider, but I played the original ones, and they were not too bad. I liked the movie with Angelina Jolie too. That was pretty good too. That wasn't,
That was a
that's
good
like
movie.
one of those. It's not like amazing, but it's good. It's like one of those movies that, hey, it's not too bad, and it had Daniel Craig in it. It was a shame that they never did another one.
It
How
was
many
a
were
really
there?
good movie. It's so funny too that I was just talking about this the other night on Toxic Fab, and we are talking about how like, any movie that back in the day we were like, oh, it was okay, like it was an okay movie, and then like you fast forward to now and you go rewatch those movies you thought were okay, and depend like now that 2024, okay back then is like amazing now. Like once you watch these
Yeah,
movies,
it is
because it's
pretty
just
funny.
everything has dropped. Like the quality of movies have dropped so much that everything that was okay for us back in the day are now like masterpieces.
Mhm. Nina, if you could go back in time and interview any film director or any actor in history, who would it be, and what would be the question that you would love to talk to them about?
Ooh. Wow. That's an interesting question. Probably Kubrick, and I would ask him about the moon landing.
Mhm. Oh, how you think the moon landing was? Well, I mean, so what
Take
makes
me
you
to the
question?
set, sir.
like, what makes you question the moon landing? What, like, to you, what makes it, like, seem very fake to you? Because a lot of people, have seeming like, a lot of people get that impression that the United States faked the moon landing, that it has a lot. What makes you feel like that way, especially how the way they did it? And what do you think is the most cringy thing about the moon landing that makes no sense?
Um, a lot of things is really cringe. I mean, have you watched the video? Because it now, like now that it's on YouTube too, like you can tell, like there's like strings and shit attached to the fucking. It's pretty bad. Like it's pretty crazy. I think it's very. I, Let me just say this. It's not that I don't think the United States went to the moon. I think they did go to the moon. I just don't think they went to the moon the way they told everyone they went to the moon. For one thing, I think they actually saw a lot of shit up there. They were like, "Oh, we can't tell the people about this." Like, it's I just don't believe that a government would be okay with like broadcasting something like that to the populace because there's just too many unknown variables. So I call bullshit on all of that. Like, obviously, and the lines were scripted. Like, what's his name? He didn't come up with that. Somebody wrote that for him. Like, one
Yeah.
small step for man. Like, that is not something he came up with. That is somebody wrote something that was a scripted thing, which is fine. I mean, it was a beautiful gesture, but when you take it as a whole of what it actually was, which is kind of, putting a wool over the entire Earth's eyes, it's also very bad. So in that sense, I don't know. I don't know what to think of the moon landing. I just think it was definitely faked, and I think that the United States has gone up there, but they've seen some shit, and they just like the rest of the governments have hid what's going on, because they have to. There's no other way uh, around it. They don't want like mass
You,
panic and shit like that.
Nina, Wh- when I was when I was studying about the moon theory, it always gets to me, which I think is funny. Personally, I don't think there are aliens up there, but whether it was faked or not, I've been kind of questioning it lately. Like, I don't believe the Earth is flat. I think that's a load of nonsense, and I think that's over the top. But I remember hearing something about this CIA guy that said, "Oh, actually, the United States has been on Mars for like 70 years since the 1945." And I'm thinking, what? And it was a crazy conspiracy, man. Like, there was a guy saying, "Oh, no, 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 the United States government have been on Mars and they're colonizing Mars and they've got gas stations there." And I'm like, what?
Gas stations. Wow. That's
Like
funny.
like resources. Well, because it goes back into, because then you got like the whole hollow earth theory, and then you got the flat earth theory, and how, like, there's the whole ice wall theory, and how there are like other worlds out there like exist. I don't particularly believe in that theory, but it was just,
I
it's
think it's
really,
fascinating. I think it's
it
fascinating,
is
and
fascinating. Yeah.
like, I lean more towards the ancient civilizations theory, which I believe
You mean the Inaki, and like all of that stuff, like how
anything.
basically Adam.
You can call it Atlantis if you want. You can call it Lemuria. You can call it like whatever you want. There's different ancient civilizations that have been throughout time on planet Earth. And because Earth is billions of years old. We're not the first people here, and we won't be the last. That's actually one of the reasons I cover it, like archaeology on Infinite Hope, because I feel like history is really interesting and fascinating to me. And I think that there was a time, at some point in the history of Earth, where there was a civilization on here that was faring, that went to the moon, that created bases there, probably had a connection with alien civilizations as well. I think that it's very, very possible that those civilizations have died out, whether through you know impact, like comic impact, or whatever. Like, there's just whatever you want to call it. It's a cycle, and things happen, and civilizations get destroyed, and new ones rise up. And I think I mean, there's so much evidence that there's so many ancient civilizations on Earth. That's why I like Graham Nolan's work. Or not Graham Nolan. I'm sorry. What am I talking about? Um, that's the comic book artist, Graham Nolan. I'm sure the chat knows what I'm talking about. Hancock.
Hancock.
Thank you.
Hancock.
Graham Hancock. I was thinking Graham Nolan, like the comic book artist. Graham Hancock. Yeah, I like his work. I like all of those guys. They do a lot of interesting work about ancient civilizations, and I think that's the most fascinating and probably more accurate theory than anything else. I mean, you can let your mind wander about alternate dimensions and all
I
that kind of
love that.
stuff.
I love that, Nina. Like learning
Me
about the
too.
multiverse, the omniverse. You know what, Nina? Marvel Comics and DC Comics, they were the ones that got me into conspiracy theories and like the opening the world up and knowing. One thing is that there's been a book that really is getting to me is the Book of Enoch. And you know, like how you talk about Atlantis and all that stuff. I have a theory that if the Bible is true and if God's real, because I'm 50-50, I'm agnostic and atheist at the same time, both. I do believe in a God, I don't, like whatever, all that stuff.
That's
But
funny.
I believe that if the Book of Enoch was real, of course, if the Book of Enoch is real, I believe that maybe during the times of Noah, you have that story, where Adam fell, then you had the watchers, Adam and Eve fell, then you had the watchers that came down to earth, and there was one, angel called Israel, as Azrael, I think, who is basically talking like telling you like Adam and Eve, the descendants of him, to do evil things like make weapons, wear makeup, all that stuff that is against a crime, a sin to God. And I personally believe during the times, of the days of Noah, you are having all of these angels teaching human beings like advanced weaponry, advanced, technology, like going into space. And there's that theory that actually angels are fallen, like the aliens are fallen angels, like demons, and
I
they're
love those
Nephilim.
theories.
Yeah, Nephilim. And there's also theories that Atlantis exists, but there's a theory though that also, in the days of Noah, there was an ancient nuclear war that happened, and like after that, like, and there's also theories that like those angels basically like mated with like animals, humans, and even plants. And those like angels create demons, they created giants. And like the days of Noah, the earth was messed up. So like
Mm,
that could be like, or it could just be another theory that, or there's another theory in the days of Egypt that humans were basically apes, and maybe an advanced civilization down came from the earth, like the Enochi, and basically came down and taught humans. It's fascinating. It's
mhm.
absolutely
Or
fascinating. And
maybe it was us from the future, like another ancient civilization of us that went spacefaring and then they came back. Like it's very, very possible. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like you can just let your mind wander with this kind of stuff. It's fascinating. Like it really is. And the only thing I don't buy into is the whole flat earth situation. I think it's dumb.
no,
Later, Darren.
I don't buy into that either. I don't buy into that either. I think that theory is really, really, just makes no sense. The Hollow Earth theory is very interesting. I think that theory and like the world beyond the ice walls is a very interesting theory too, which makes a lot of sense. Which does sorry, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's very, very interesting.
I
Nina,
don't know if I've
with
heard that one.
so the Hollow Earth theory is basically
No,
like the
not the
whole.
Hollow Earth, the ice one. What is it? The ice one
I
that
mean,
you're saying?
sorry, beyond the ice walls. Beyond the ice walls. Have you heard that theory? Like there are people who
No.
basically believe that Antarctica is banned. Like you can't go to it because there are actually worlds above, like worlds beyond the ice wall, and there are other worlds, that like it's. I mean, I don't believe in it, but
Like
it's a
there's a
very
dimension, like a dimensional portal there or something?
yes, like some portals or like
Oh.
some things to another world, or like it's very, very interesting. It's like called Thai Terror, like that theory. It's very interesting. You should definitely look it up.
Ah,
You know.
that's interesting. I'll have to look that up. Yeah.
Mhm.
Fascinating.
So, Nina, when you were like looking at the eclipse with like many people, saying how like CERN was gonna like cause a thing, what were you expecting to happen? Like, what was your opinion? Like, what was gonna be the worst case scenario to happen?
Well, I think the worst case scenario with CERN has already happened. I mean, we live in clown world. I fully believe that the moment that that thing went on, we crossed into the clown dimension and we have been residing in the cloud dimension ever since. That is why, things like COVID has happened and, certain things that mass hysteria that's happened, this whole thing with, just I don't know how much I can say on YouTube, but, just, gender ideology and all of the different things that are happening in our psyche is a constant, It's just a constant barrage. So I think that if we're gonna go with a theory of, what the fuck was there a starting point? Yes, I will say that I think CERN did cause something, and we haven't quite made our way back yet. But in all seriousness, no, I actually didn't see the thing, the eclipse last night or yesterday. We got a partial one and it was kind of lame. So I was like, all right, bye. Because we saw one like last year, the year before, and we got the full one and it was fun. And this year we didn't get a full one. So I didn't care. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go spread democracy instead.
I read a crazy conspiracy theory that people were saying that like CERN was going to open and like something was going to come out, like an octopus monster was going to come out and eat the Earth or something
What?
like that.
Oh my God. No, no, we just crossed to the clown dimension where nothing makes sense and everything is topsy-turvy and, if everybody's, man is woman, woman is man, and all that different weird
Yeah.
shit.
Mhm. So, Nina, when you look at like as astrology, like you were mentioning, like what is your most fascinating thing that you like to learn about like space and stuff? And what would you say is like your favorite, space anime and mythology of all time?
Ooh, that's a good question. Space fascinates me because it's infinite, and I love the idea of infinity, infinite Earths, like everything like that. I love mm, I I just think everything about space is fascinating, whether it's like black hole or creation of like a nova, supernovas, like anything. I just find all of it very fascinating. With regards to anime, I think some of my favorite space anime, other than Cowboy Bebop, probably Outlaw Star is a great space anime. Um, Star Blazers, Starship Yamato, Galaxy Express 999. There's a lot. There's a lot of good ones. Captain Harlock. Uh, Man, I love space anime. Space sci-fi is freaking fantastic.
Hmm. One, I'm not going to mention anime, but I really love the movie Wall-E. Like Wall-E
Oh,
is a
I love
really, really
Wally.
good,
Wally's a good movie. So cute.
it is
Also
very
predicted
down
the
to earth.
future with all the fat people riding around in freaking segways.
I know, tell me about it.
That's our world.
You know, so Nina, with what's going forwards, right now, how do you see like the film industry going forward with the woke culture? Because a lot of people are saying now, especially with the whole like, there's that whole meme going on with Sydney Sweeney. Like, by the way, the girl is gorgeous. Like, there's
She's
many
great.
people thinking that this is like the end of wokeness, that we're moving past it. Do you think that we are like moving past the post woke era, or do you think we've still got some time to go until that ends?
I think we got some time still. We're starting to, but we're nowhere near like, where we need to be. We should have never entered this era to begin with, let alone like, coming out of it kind of thing. Obviously the pendulum is gonna swing. I think it already has. I don't know how badly it's going to swing. That's the thing. And I said it's a cause for worry. I'll be completely honest with you because I don't like sometimes I see comments like, "Oh, this movie's got a black person in it. I'm not watching. Oh, this movie's got a gay person in it. I'm not watching." So you've already like kind of gotten to this point where people are like, just no matter what. Oh, this movie's got a woman in it. I'm not watching. Like
Yeah, like
it's
many people like call that the woke right. Like the right goes a bit like, as much as the left does bad things,
But that's
there's
the
also the
pendulum,
right.
right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
pendulum
yeah.
is swinging back because I mean,
Mhm.
it's understandable where these people have been just bombarded with so much crap that they're like, "You know what? I'm done." Like, and it's worrying, but it's also understandable. Like, you're like, I'm like, I get it. Like, I get why people are so standoffish towards certain things. Like, it's just like a lot of people are become like super sensitive now with the media they consume. And I honestly think it's a good thing, especially for the kids because like with Disney and you know different companies coming out with with garbage tier just entertainment and calling it entertainment and basically having it be a whole bunch of like stuff that's just brainwashing kids and propaganda and just like priming them for
Mm.
different things that they different ideologies and the message that they want to prime these kids for is just basically cultural Marxism going on. I think it's good that people are weary and aware of what their kids are consuming and what they are consuming because we're not, we are not immune to what's going on. And especially like I actually think some propaganda might be going back to what it was and becoming more subliminal. Some people are not catching it as much because it just became so overt for the longest time. But subliminal messages and propaganda has been in movies and medias forever, especially in Hollywood. So I think it's just going to go back to becoming a little bit more subliminal. You're going to have to be more on your toes to pick up certain messaging. Sometimes you won't be able to. You'll have to have other people point it out to you, which has happened to me many times. But all in all, I think we are moving towards the right direction in terms of like getting out of the woke, but we got a long ways to go.
Yep. I think there is going to be maybe one more, push before it really, gets into that point, of like where, but I do think people are waking up, what,
I think, for
Nina.
example, like
Mm.
Netflix is a perfect example of it because Netflix is so it's known for being super woke, right? Like
Yeah.
uber
Mhm.
woke. But you have like, Netflix is an interesting aspect because there's just so many they have so many woke shows and they still do, but they are constantly coming out with other like non-woke stuff as well. And
Mm.
most of it is coming from other countries like Korea, Germany, a lot of like really good shows are coming out of different places. And they just had another one actually. It wasn't really woke, but it did definitely have like one line that I was like, why is this line in there? Because it's like, and it was a German show too. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, because they're like just so anti-Trump, man. Like they're like, it's just so crazy with the Trump stuff. But yeah, like so they have a lot of anti-woke stuff now. A lot of anime, it's like anti-woke, like they just don't they had that new Bill Burr movie that was a Netflix special. That was like it was called literally like I think it was called Woke Dads or something like that, or I forget
Mm.
I forget what it was called, but it's a new Bill Burr one. And they're making fun of the woke in that one. So they're starting to have like both sides. Like obviously you're gonna get plenty of woke material as well, but they're starting to see that hey, there's a market for the other side because not the other side. The other side doesn't really like what the fuck we're pushing out. So those are interesting to me to see that Netflix is coming out with certain TV shows or movies or whatever that are not woke or like not with their current messaging. It's just fascinating to see.
Mhm. So, Nina, before we finish up, what is the final thing that you would like to say to the audience, and what message of like what quote of the day, like message of hope, would you like to give to the audience and everyone out there, and what other thing would you like to say to everybody?
Oh wow. Okay, let me see here. Hang on. Uh I would like to say that we are in a really turbulent time and it's a really weird it's a weird time to be alive, but don't lose hope. And as Rumi says, never lose hope, my dear heart. Miracles dwell in the invisible. So if you just try and open your eyes to what you can't really see in front of you, like air, like you can't really see it, but you know it's there. Um, you might be happier. Put down social media. Go outside.
Mm.
Smell the air, be with your loved ones, get off social media if you can. That's my that's my I try to do that too. I try my best to just, take little moments and appreciate the people you're with because at any moment they could be gone. So that's my message to everybody. Try and be kind to yourselves.
Where can people find you, Nina?
You can find me at Nina Infinity on YouTube and Nina Infinity on Rumble as well. I usually do my crazy you know, spicy shows on Rumble now because YouTube is not very friendly with the, you know, free speech stuff. So you follow me over there on Rumble. And of course, Nina7 Infinity is my Twitter. And yeah, I have Nina Infinity Gaming as well. You guys can check out. But mostly that's my main channel that I hang out at. And Fridays is my good news show.
Well, thank you for coming on, Nina. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. We should definitely,
Thanks for
do
having me
another show.
on.
We should definitely do another show in the future if you want. Sounds like
Sure,
a
of
good idea.
course.
And I, it was a pleasure having you. And I just want to say to everybody, please go and check out Nina work. She's a very fantastic streamer. She does a lot of fantastic videos. And especially if you are ever feeling down, I definitely recommend for everybody to go check out her Infinite Hope. It's brilliant. It's got a lot of lovely stories. Whether you disagree with Nina or not on political issues, it's those videos are the type of issues that you can enjoy no matter what. She runs a great gaming channel. So yeah, please go and follow her on Twitter. Go check out her channel. Go give her a like and subscribe. And thank you for everybody for joining the Watch Podcast episode 148. Please remember to like and subscribe. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day, everybody. Take care. God bless you all. Stay safe and bye.